So we're holding in Likutei Moharan to Daled, and we're all the way at the end. The Rabbi Bar Chana. Like we've said, the Rebbe brings down usually a pasuk in the beginning. He goes on to give a whole explanation of various ideas in Yiddishkeit, and then at the end he kind of builds back into that pasuk, weaves back into that pasuk what he was speaking about. But also in the first bunch of Torahs, he brings down these fantastical tales of Rabbi Bar Chana, where Rabbi Bar Chana says all these amazing stories. V'zeh pirish, it's all the way at the end. Amar Rabbi Bar Chana. Zimna chada havakazlinen besfinta. There was one time we were going on a ship. V'chazinan, and again, it's very interwoven with the Pirish Rashbam, which is kind of like the Rashi over there. So we're going to learn it together. Zimna chada havakazlinen besfinta. I was going in a ship. V'chazinan ha'u kavra. We saw this kavra. Kavra over here, the Rashbam says, dag, is a fish. And the Yasvale, it was resting in it, Achlatina Lu'usyeh. It had sitting in it was an Achlatina, which is a type of worm. The Rashbam says Sheretz Katan. It's the art scroll of Likutei Moharan from BRI translates it as a mud eater. I was not able to find out what a mud eater is because it doesn't seem to pop up in any classic literature. But whatever it is, it's some sort of parasitical worm, a teeny worm. And it was in Ba'usyeh. The Rashbam says, it went into its nostrils. So here you have, he sees this huge fish with a worm in its nostrils. Okay. Now over here on the bottom, it adds in umis. And you'll see that later on that he has the girsa and the fish died seemingly because of this worm. Now once it was dead, the mayim, the Rashbam says, it basically spit him out. The water spit out this fish. Apparently the ocean is not able to hold dead things, and it just washes it up on the shore. And it washed it up to the shore. Now, this fish was so large, as one of the other Rabbi Bar Chana's also, we had a huge animal, that it destroyed 60 cities. The Rashbam says, it was so large that it destroyed 60 cities. So this huge fish got thrown in there. Now again, it was killed by a parasitical worm the size of the edge of my finger. And it was so large that it destroyed 60 cities. Okay. Now, the Rashbam says, now, it was sad that these 60 cities got killed, but now we had this huge fish sitting there. So the 60 cities around it said, oh, we have food now. So they came and they ate it while it was still fresh. 60 cities were supported by this fish. Not only that, the Rashbam says, 60 other cities salted the fish to preserve it. That's how much basar, how much meat this fish had. So they preserved it in salt, and then they were able to take it to their place. And from one eye, Rashbam says, 300 barrels of oil. The eye, I guess, is made up of an oily substance. 300 barrels worth. We're talking about quite a large fish. Now, they came back, whoever they were, they came back 12 months later to check it out. And now they saw that there was nothing left. Remember the old Garfield cartoon? They would always take the fish and eat it, and they would just be left with bones. So he had just bones left. But what would they do? These were gargantuan bones. So they were cutting them up into planks, so that from that The Rashbam says, so from the 60 cities that were destroyed from this fish, now from the bones, they were rebuilding those 60 cities. So Pilei Ploim of a story of fantastical sizes and proportions and things. But now let's see what the Rebbe of Nachman says, how this applies to the Torah that we were speaking about until now. And since this is going to go through the whole thing, so we don't have to go through it again, we'll go through the Chazara with through this story. Perish. Sfina Loshen Chashivas. Bechinas Malchus. Shirabba Bar Bachana Chakar Besich Loi Oides HaMalchus Eich B'nei Yisrael Malin Oisa. That Rabbi Bar Bachana was seeing Sfina, Safun is something that's Chashiv, and it's therefore representative of kingship, of Malchus, which in the beginning of the Torah we were speaking about that in order to get to a certain level of understanding, you have to lift up Malchus. Now Malchus, kingship, rulership, which as we develop the Torah also represents Malchus Peh, which represents your articulation of language. This is basically found by the Goyim. But he was looking, how can we lift it up? And Rabbi Chana saw a fish. Yisrael, of course, Yidden are called by Dagim. We should be prosperous. We should multiply like fish. They lay 1,000 eggs and have 1,000 kids at once. So too, we should be so multiplied. Should have so many children, so much multitudes of Yidden. Dagim, always we say, on Shabbos, everyone always wants to eat a dog. And the famous stories of the Ribnitzer, how he would look for a certain fish, he would throw the fish back, and he was trying to find the fish. So Yidden are known as Dagim. Also underneath the Dagim are Oila Ali Ayin, they're underneath the water where no Ayin Hara could get to them. So to Yidden, as long as we stay under the radar, so to speak, where we stay humble, so we don't have any eyes upon us. So he was looking and he saw the dog, but it had some problem with it. It had an issue with it that it had this worm. So what does that worm mean? This is the tefillah, the davening of Yisrael. We had this in Torah Bais. It represents the nostrils. Nostrils is the place of the tefillah. That it had a animal in it, this little worm, meaning it had some sort of impurity. There's something that coming and messing with the tefillah of the yid. You couldn't just speak to Hashem. Sometimes you try to speak, you try to daven, and it's just not going. You can't speak, you don't know what to say. When you're speaking, it's not going, or you're davening the words of the regular tefillah, and it's just not going. So something was wrong. There was an impurity here. What did this yid do? Also, that this is what the Torah was referring to before, that we said that if you want to lift up Malchus Peh, if you want to lift up your mouth, you should be able to speak properly. And really, the Rebbe wasn't he wasn't focusing on that point yet. You see, this is like a new twist on the idea, but that when a yid is trying to speak to Hashem, so things are going to get all messed up from these impurities. So how do you lift up Malchus? How do you lift up your words that they could speak and they could flow? Through these three things that the Rebbe said, which is the Hiskashrut Tzaddik, connecting to a Tzaddik, giving tzedakah, which he said is giving tzedakah to a Talmid Chacham, to a Tzaddik, and Vidud Dvarim, to speak out your heart in front of the Talmid Chacham. Which is interesting to note that already now you see that first Nekuda of Hiskashrut Tzaddik is already said over in three different ways. He said to come close to the tzaddik. He said to see the face of the tzaddik. Now he's saying it's kasher. So l'chayra, these three ideas, as much as they're different ideas, but they are all interwoven as meaning a similar idea of coming close to the tzaddik is by seeing him, even is already considered is coming close. From the Rabbi Bar Bachana at the end of Torah Daled, Ze Pirush Umeisav Yidchu Mayav Shadir Legudav Hiska Shosh B'chinas Me'ila Lasata. The Rebbe speaks about these three levels that lift up a yid from the top down. Really, we said that the order was to start with connecting to the tzaddik, and then giving tzedakah to the tzaddik, and then speaking to the tzaddik. He says in the story it goes from the other way. It goes from the top. Mesa. We said that the people that are about to die, they say vidoy. So Misa has this idea, this concept of vidoy. So he starts off saying, do vidoy. And the water's like shot it out. Zebechinas tzedakah. Both of these psukim have a reference to tzedakah. Throw your money out to tzedakah, it'll come back kiflei kiflayim. So too over here, but the lashon is like throw your bread upon the water. So that idea of throwing onto the water is hinted to over here. The tzaddik is called a shore or lashon goder. Here he's saying it's the lashon of a fence. So goder essentially Yisrael, he closes in. He acts as the gather for all of the breakings and the breaches in Klal Yisrael. That he's coming close to the tzaddik. This is a reference to the tzaddik. He's coming close to him. Through these three things that he just did, it destroyed 60 cities. We said that once you get to this level of Misa, again, we were really working the other way around. We were saying first, see the tzaddik, and then we were saying to give tzedakah to the tzaddik, and then we were saying you get to the place that, okay, you fixed all your midas rights, but now you have to know, what do you do? Very nice, you have no bad midas. Where do you go? Just chill out now. No, you have to have a path. So that's the tzaddik. So he's saying now that you lifted up Malchus with this Vidoi Dvarim, the Vidoi Dvarim brings you to that precious drachim, to that clarity in life. The tzaddik helas Malchus minas sitrachava tzaddik hoyle esadarcha yashar k'moshikos haftaras bereishis acher v'horim ugvois remez al churban memshas ha'akam ha'ilachti ivrim b'derech lo yadou zebechinas tzaddik hoyle derech yashar. This is referring to lowering and destroying the goyim, and ha'ilachti ivrim, guiding the blind people. Zebechinas tzaddik shehoyle derech yashar zebechinas parshas drachim k'neis kalei, like we said before, that now he gives you a pathway that is tailor-made for you, for your Shosh Neshama. Shitin Mechayzer Remez Aliyas HaMalchus. What Shaykh has the 60 cities have to do with Malchus? Sivbak Shishim Heimam Malchus. There's a pasuk that connects the idea of 60 to Malchus. Now, now we're going to have to do a little chazara. The Rabbi said over there that there's 4 midas rais that come from the 4 different elements. There's Doimim, Tzemeach, and Chaim Medaber. He said Doimim has Atzvas and Atzlus. Tzemeach is the Taivus rais. Then you had Chai, which is Dvar Metelin, he's just chilling and doing nothing. And then you had Medaber, which was us, people, that we have Gaiva and Lashon Hara, we have all the good Zachen that we are able to do. So he said that you have to fix them through these things. So now he's going to go back to those ideas. He said both midos of Chai and Medaber, which was he's saying that the upper midos, they were things that brought poverty, which really brought death. He said that there's he referencing over there that Das and Avim didn't actually die, but they became poor, but that was considered like they died. Like they tzedakah mitakanos and yamshech shefa, and through tzedakah you fix that. So he's saying that they have this tikkun of these 2 midas of Chaim Medaber, which was Dvar Metelim and Lashon Hara and all these Gaiva, or fixed through giving tzedakah to the tzaddik. Like we said before, that a person that has this Gaiva doesn't really live in a world where anyone exists other than himself. He's a king at the top of the mountain. He's the only one in the whole entire world that exists. And tzedakah, the whole idea is to recognize that that's not true, that every person and everything in the world around us exists, and therefore I'm giving. It's interesting to note that tzedakah is from a notion of tzaddik or tzedek, the idea of righteousness. Now, it's interesting because tzedakah, if you look at it, taka, that when I give something, so then I'm losing it from myself. So it doesn't seem like a righteous thing to do. I don't even know why Hashem tells us to do this. Give something I have it. Why would I give it to someone else? Why am I giving things to other people? It's retarded. Elamai, tzedakah is this breaking of that gaiva. The gaiva is that it's mine. What shaykh does it have to anyone else? Breaking the gaiva is no, nothing exists by you. You're part of a whole structure of the whole world. And just because you have it right now doesn't mean anything. It means that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is flowing it through to you to be a conduit for others. So you see another yin and you give it to him. That's the greatest tzedek. That's the greatest righteousness, that you're recognizing that taka, you're in the right place, that you're doing the right thing. So here he says, okay, nice and clear. So here he says that tzedakah does this. It fixes those two things of gaiva and of Dvar Metelim. That's the first level. And they salted 60 more. The 60 cities salted fish from this huge fish in the story, and they had food for 60 cities. He's going down now. That was Doim Sameach, which was just being down like Doimim, like a rock, blah, just atzvus and atzlus, and Sameach, which was the exact opposite, which was taiva and all of the desirous things that were like weeds that keep growing and growing and never stop. And we said over there that how does that make any sense that you can destroy them both with one thing of kirvas tzaddik seeing the tzaddik? Okay, Reb Nachman had a mashal over there that you could be very, very tired and very blah, but when a little kid sees his mother, he jumps up. Okay, nice. And then when he's all in his taivas and he's all excited about it, when he sees his mother, he jumps up. Very nice. But still, they seem to be total opposites. Taivas and the guy that's sitting on the couch all day are different people. Different zah. But the nekuda is that they're both coming from the same void inside. A person feels his neshama. And just this morning, it struck me today that the visualization could possibly be that Hashem throws us into this world and we're like flying. We're falling. And sometimes you just feel like that. You're just falling. Where am I going? I'm just falling through life. And then all of a sudden, as you're falling and flying through the air, you see like there's a shtickle branch and it looks enticing and it looks like it's going to save you. So you grab onto that branch and the taka like holds you for a second. That's the taiva of food. And then you eat it a little, you feel good. And then all of a sudden it's like, and it like breaks and you find another branch, and the whole time you're like grappling to find these branches, and they keep breaking, and you keep falling, and you're in torture. And so like, what is the guy to do? That's what the taivas do. So some people find it in taiva, and some people find that I just give up. I don't care, I'm falling. I'm not even going to look at it fall. I'm not even going to care about anything. It's supposed to be the same thing, that I just give up from the whole fall. And the Pikeah recognizes that there are certain people that actually pay money to do that. They pay money to fall. What are they called? Skydivers. You go up 20,000 feet in the air, and they just jump. They're falling for a minute, 2 minutes. Like, we're going to shagayim. Okay, maybe they are shagayim, but the idea, so you see that falling, stomp through the air is not a bad thing. It's actually an awesome thing. It's actually a fun thing to do. LMI, what? They have a parachute. They're good. They know. What do you mean falling? I'm not falling to the ground. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. I'm good. So a yid that just recognized that and he just lets go, all of a sudden he's flying, he's skydiving forever, his whole life. He's just flying. He recognizes, I'm with Hashem. I don't need to grab onto that branch and this thing and that ledge and everything. No, he just lets go and he flies. That's the idea of these taivas, that they come from this place of just grabbing onto things that will never hold a person. So over here he says that when you see the face of the tzaddik, when you come close to him, so taka, you fly. You don't need it. You don't need to hold on to anything. You're there. You fly. You get fixed from all these taivas and deadenings. Everything is fixed when you taste the face of the tzaddik. When you see it, when you do it. And obviously, as we always know in Breslev, I don't know if we've said the story maybe numerous times, that one of the talmidim of Reb Nosson was crying to his Rebbe, to Reb Nosson, and he said, I would be such an erlich of yid if I only saw the face of Reb Nachman that you were zeicher to see so many times. And Reb Nosson said to him, what? Who saw the face of Reb Nachman? You saw the water carrier that used to bring him water every day. He saw Reb Nachman. He didn't see Reb Nachman. He didn't know anything about Reb Nachman. You see Reb Nachman. Why? Because you sit and you learn the Torah. The Torah shows you the core of who Reb Nachman was. You see Reb Nachman. It's not a face. That's why they say there's no picture of Reb Nachman, because it's not a face. It's something that's right here is the face. When you take these Torahs and you bring it into your heart, you're not only seeing you, that's why it's cautious. You see, but it's more than seeing. It's connecting. It's becoming one with. It's coming close to. So over here, doing all of that thing, all those things, they help the person to mamish break those two midos. Tzaddik who bris melach olam. Now, what shaykhs is after the story of Rabbi Chana? Because the tzaddik is known as melach, bris melach of the salt. It comes from impure blood, dirty blood. You know that you salt the meat to get rid of the bad blood. 60 letters of Yevarech Hashem, Shehem Biyad HaTzadik, and Meshikos of Bracha is the Rosh Tzadik. The Tzadik has this koyach of bracha. Malu Michad Galgala de Eina Tlos Meya Garbe Mishra, and in the story they filled from one eyeball from this massive fish 300 barrels of oil. Garbe Mishra Zebechinas Hadas, right? Shemen Mishras Kodesh, Zebechinas Seichel. Now we always speak about Shemen as referring to Das, referring to Seichel. Tlas Meya Zebechinas Moshe. Now the 300, what is this idea? This number represent is Moshe Rabbeinu. Shebechinas Ma. Like we've said, tzaddik maknes atzma b'chinas ma. Like we said in the beginning of the Torah, that if you're going to speak in front of this tzaddik, he better be b'chinas ma. He better be in the level that he could hear all of the praises, all of the derogatory statements. Nothing changes him. He is totally efes. He's just bittul to Hashem. Now he's going to describe that a little bit more. It says in the pasuk near me up, don't be haughty in your wisdom, in your strength, and in your wealth. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe Rabbeinu, we know from other Chazal that he had all three of these. I think in order to be a king, you had to have all three of these. And even though the king and Moshe Rabbeinu have all three of them, it doesn't do anything to them, and they just give all of it back up to Kadosh Baruch Hu. He divests himself of all physicality and adabik bar and soif, like we said. We've spoken about that. Everything has oisiyos that all represent different ideas of ratzon of Kadosh Baruch Hu. I speak and I express what I want and what I'm speaking about, but that's all Shiur Ratzon. But when you get back to the core, the Rav of the Ravin, it's just one Ratzon, one Aleph, one Nikuda of Ein Sof. El Hashem Yoeli Kim Kanal Hanukula Yhatay Vametiv. Zeh Bechinas Chad Galgal Deina, one eyeball. Kamuva Beidjal Zimna the Asi Zimna the Asi Shtakach Ba Eina Chad Derachme. So Bechinas Kula Yhatay Vametiv. What does it mean, one eyeball? It means that you see things sometimes from your right eye, where you're looking at the guy in a good eye, and sometimes you see from the left eye, you're looking at him in a bad eye. And I always say that the reason why HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us two eyes, it's very interesting, right? They have those minions. They have one big eyeball. It seems to work fine for them, and you have one eyeball, and you see, what's the big deal? I could have made a wide-angle eyeball, and we'd have one eyeball. So, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made us two eyeballs, and yet we see, for us to see all the time, that if you go like this, all of a sudden you're missing a whole part of the picture over there. If you go like that, all of a sudden you realize you're missing a whole part of the picture. So your two eyeballs are to remind you always that you're seeing something, but there's always other sides to the picture. And over here he's saying one eye means just the eye of good, just to see a pure goodness in every single year. So he's saying that what we want Kadosh Baruch Hu to see us as, just goodness. That's the Chad Galgalta De'ena. When the tzaddik makes himself nothing, he connects himself to this place of Ein Sof, which is just pure Atayv. There is no bad. Everything that he sees and everything that he perceives, everything is just HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and therefore pure goodness. Now he said that in order to get to there, no one ever reaches there until they're in the next world. But you have to continuously reach this place. Let's say you have a moment, like he said in Tefillah, where you're davak and you flow, and it's just a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and you fall right back. You come back down to the ground. You have to draw that, like what he said, the Rishimu, this imprint of what you saw, what you experienced beyond das, beyond knowledge. You experience just unity and oneness. You have to try to bring that down. He's saying that now from ma, you make mea. The Gemara has drasha, and it says, don't say something is ma shem alikecha shem ela mea. right? I'm not sure if it's Mea Brachas, sorry, he speaks about Mea Brachas. So over here he's saying is that you have to basically draw these three levels of Ma, that you have to be able to be humble with your wealth, humble with your knowledge, humble with your strength. All three of them are Ma, which Ma is Mea, which is 100, which is 300. So now we get to the 300 barrels of oil, of das, that this person gets from the Ein Sof. The ma from the 300 barrels come from the three mas. He draws this or into his knowledge, and the barrels, meaning these barrels are like vessels that can hold knowledge. That's Moshe Rabbeinu says, you've now begin to show us your das. You're bringing this Or Ein Sof that you experienced, that you saw, into your das. Hashem is one. Meaning what? Like in the future, they're going to say about every single thing. Once we recognize that every single thing is coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And now, when after 12 months they came back and they saw that they were making from the bones of this fish the cities that they destroyed. Behind over here, he introduces a shtickle new idea. He says over here, from the back side of Kedusha, you have 12 Shvatim. Those are holy. But in the back side of them, so to speak, there's unholiness. Behind them is Tumah. He introduces that there are people that sadly exit from the fold of holiness. There's 12 months represent the 12 tribes. 12 tribes represent holiness. What does it mean, achrei, after 12 months? He says achrei. It's behind the Kedusha. So he's basically going now and looking into the people. They're out. They're not religious. They're doing things wrong. Whatever it is, he's going to look into that. He said that they were cutting from the bones. Like we said in the beginning of the Torah, that when a person does an Aveira, the Isis that are written in the Torah, or as let's say said loisigzal, get all jumbled, and now they get engraved in yes to steal, which is wrong, and it's engraved in the person's bones. It goes through the person's bones, and the Avera itself, the Isis itself, take Nakama by breaking the person's bones, whether it means breaking his core and making him a sugar and falling into more Averas, or it just means Kipshuta, like the story from the Baal Shem Tov we spoke about in the beginning, that the person's just mamish broken, his bones are breaking. Whatever it is, that's what happens with the Averas. So now the person that's a Chachar and Kedusha has this problem. The Sira mamish is like mamish, like a breaking, a smashing, a cut. Right now we go return to this person that's davening, and he feels that something in his tefillah from this little worm is damaging his tefillah. So he feels that something's wrong. He's not regulated. He's not focused. He's not with Hashem. Now he does tshuva. He starts to do all of these three things that we spoke about, coming close to the tzaddik, and tzedakah, and vidoy, speaking out to the tzaddik. It helps not only for him, but even for these people that were lost. And he rebuilds those 60 cities. It helps that it seems like he's saying basically he's saying that I think that they're going to help the people that are not holding in there. They're going to not only fix their own bones, but they help the whole world. It produces tremendous results for the whole world. Is that Pirush? Now we're going to get back to the beginning of the Torah. The Rabbi had a pasuk that he started off on, which is very nice. It's the Seras HaDibros, I believe. Anoichi, Now, what I took you out of Mitzrayim, let's see how it fits in this Torah. What does it mean? Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, Yud Kei Vav Kei is Rachbim, Elokecha is more din. So Anoichi, both of these are Anoichi, both of these are HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hashem. Chaim, like we started off by Hashem Al Davar, by the good things that we understand as good, we praise Hashem Elokim Al Davar, and by the bad things we also praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We don't just say, well, Dianamis. It's terrible, but no, we praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu with that. But how you have to reach this dark of Akulai, Hainu Akulai HaToiv HaMeitiv. That I took you out of Mitzrayim. The Yisrael Medrash ki kol hagoliyos nikraim al shem golos Mitzrayim. All exiles, all issues, all problems are called like Egypt, like Mitzrayim. Because it's Meitzer from lashon of constricting. It's pressure on Klal Yisrael. Through the tzaddik, it gets rid of this malchus of the akum of the goyim. It lifts up, like we said, through all of these three levels of giving to the tzaddik. It lifts it all up. That it fixes the malchus that was constricted and it releases it. What does it mean from the house of servitude? From all the four midas, a person that is captured by the Yetzer Hara, like it says in Pirkei Avos, these are things that take a person out of the world. It's almost like a person is removed from life. Nachman has a sikha, I was just learning recently, that a person that has a munah, he lives life. A person without a munah, he's pashut not alive. Because when things are going well, okay, but whenever anything happens not his way, so he's broken. And a person with a munah, he has life, because whenever something happens good, he's thanking Hashem. Whenever things happen bad, he also is taking strength. And the fact that it's from Hashem. So here, a person that's caught up in the Taivas Rise, the Midas Rise, his whole life is like servitude. All of these four elements, these four core ideas of the world, are under the rulership of the moon. He's talking about the moon. Moon is known in the idea of slavery. The king, I guess, would be the sun. And the moon would be the slave, the Eved. So we don't want to be found in that place of being in servitude to these midas. Perish. But through doing all of these three levels that he's talking about, a person comes close to the tzaddik, it gets rid of these midas. Through that, like the Rabbi started the Torah, that through doing that, through again, like we broke it open in the previous year, through recognizing, if you want to take it into our own lives, we each have a part inside of us that's good, that's pure elikus. We each have parts that are not, and when we come to a recognition and we get to see the face of the tzaddik, when we see that we have the tzaddik within ourselves, like the famous story of the treasure under the bridge from Rav Nachman, that, the guy had a dream that there was a treasure under the bridge in Vienna, so he traveled very far, and he was standing there looking around, and the cop said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "What do I got to lose? I had a dream there was a treasure under this bridge." He said, "You Jewish fool, I had a dream there was a treasure under, in the backyard of Moshe from Lodz. My name is Moshe, I'm from Lodz, between two big oak trees in his backyard. I got two big oak trees." Goes back home and he finds the treasure in his own backyard. And Rav Nachman said, sometimes you have to travel very far to the tzaddik, only to find, for him to show you that you have the tzaddik within yourself. Derech Agav, I was once in a Shiur, and we were learning from a very Musar standpoint, and the Baal Musar was saying that the tachlis of Hasidim is to come close to the tzaddik. The tachlis of Musar is to become the tzaddik. Nice shtach, So I was sat down at Amalav Malka with the Lizard Koenig a bunch of years ago, and it was just me and two other people. I'm very shy. It wasn't like one of these rambunctious personal ways speaking and asking. It was quiet, but this question was burning inside of me, and I wanted to ask it. It wasn't the right time, right moment. Finally, it was like quiet, and I was like, "That's it. I'm asking the question." Took a deep breath in, and I opened my mouth, and as I was opening my mouth, he goes, "Rabbi Herschel, Amaisa."
He's told Rabbi Hershel to say a Maisa. So Rabbi Hershel said, a Maisa? Okay. There was once a yid that had a dream that there was a treasure under a bridge. And he said that Maisa. And he said that sometimes you have to travel very far to the tzaddik to find that you have the tzaddik within. And I was like, oh, here's the answer. The derech of Musar is to become the tzaddik, but the only way to become the tzaddik is if you travel to the tzaddik. Not that, oh, now you travel to the tzaddik, you're good. You're by the tzaddik. No, the tzaddik is going to be able to then show you how for you to uncover and to become your own tzaddik. So when we have that idea, so we're speaking about the first level is to just find this tzaddik within yourself. And when you find him, you can be like, wow. And then all of a sudden, the taivas and the laziness, all that stuff is kind of not so much burning anymore. And then when you have the tzedakah, we have this recognition that you're both in this together and that you're going to be in this lifetime together and you have to learn how to deal with each other. That's the level of tzedakah, of a very big humility. It breaks all of the gaiva. Now you humbly recognize when you're in your body space that you have a soul that really needs to exist. And when you're in your soul space, recognize that your body also needs to live. And then when you have that connection, now you can start to speak from one to the other, from the body to the soul, and say, what are we doing? Like we said, that the Rabbi gave advice to one of his talmidim to speak to his body, speak to your body, speak to your soul, to have this beautiful conversation. And like we said, very, very simple conversation. Like we said, Kivat Chila is Chaf Bais Chila. Chaf Bais is Aleph Bais. Always to start from the beginning, just Aleph Bais. Just speak out the simplest things. And it fits very well with this Torah. That the Malchus comes back when you get rid of all these things in your heart. Your heart has these things, and like what we said, it's in the bones. It's in the deepest parts of it inside of you. And when you start to speak out to your own self and to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in front of the tzaddik, however you want to visualize this idea of breaking open all those parts and just taking them out one after another, simple things, 1 second, a couple seconds, 10 seconds, you can start breaking something open and feel a release, a chilutz atzamos. When you do that, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu then reigns free, and then when you have that touch of the Ein Sof, that you recognize that everything's good, you're able to bring it back down and to taste it here in this world. Torah Daled, Likutei Moharan, Shkoya, Chazak Baruch. Shkoya, yeah. Nachman Fried is going to be here for the next month or two, giving Shiur. He started off with the introduction. Yeah, I'm going to be in Eretz Yisrael, Bais Hashem, and he's going to be in Muncie, so it works out great.
You're not going to be?
I'm going to be in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah.
I'm going from to 2 months from
No. I'm just going now for the summer. Eretz Hashem.
Thank you so much.
War permitting.
Thank you.
Scheiner. Yeah. We should all be zeicha. Davening already?
Yeah.
Oh.
I was already in the car.
Scheiner, yeah.
So what's the Torah theme?
That's it. What we just said is, you want to break it down to one sentence? That's it.
No, it is one sentence. Like, some of the Torahs are like so wild and complicated. That's what Torah with the Torah.
Right.
We had like 4 Shiur.
I think 5 or 6. Yeah, I think 5 or 6. I'm not sure. Yeah, it was long. It's longer than the other ones. It's a long one. Yeah. So I came up with for myself is that when we have so much stuff inside of us that's just not good. Call it Averis, call it Taivas, call it this, call it whatever you want. And the Rebbe says that the first idea is just to see that you have a soul, see the face of a tzaddik, see the face of your tzaddik, like we said with the story of the treasure under the bridge. But come into contact with it. And when you come into contact, the litmus test is that when you come into contact, you won't be lazy anymore. You won't be filled with desires anymore. You'll just be awake. When you learn a Torah, sometimes you feel like that. When you have a davening, sometimes you feel. So taste it. But then when you taste it, then you have to recognize that part is a real part of you. And it's here. And then that part also has to be recognized that your body is a real part of you. I'm physical. I need food. No, you don't need food. You don't need food. No, I'm hungry. So when you start to have that conversation, that's called giving one to another. And then that's what I think the Rebbe is saying over here is that when you take that conversation and bring it out, okay, at a very simplistic level, I'm hungry now. The kids are screaming at me. There's pressure in the hospital, whatever it is. But I'm hungry. Okay, you're already in a better space than just, oh, why does this person do that? Why is it, because now you're with knowledge. I'm hungry. Things are going to annoy me. Okay, cool. That knowledge already helps change the whole situation. And a higher darka is when you're doing this, or when you're in the car, whatever, whenever you're able to do Shmones or whatever, you're able to have a quiet moment and speak. So then you just start to do that with everything in life. Like, okay, why do I get triggered by this? Why does this happen? Why does that happen? And just speak it out. Maybe it's because of that. Maybe it's because of this. Maybe and just throw yourself back and forth, and not from like a spinning circle of therapy. Just like with you ask yourself questions like, is that really true? Like basically be your own therapist. But by doing that, I think you take out the. Or you get rid of it from being engraved on your bones, where it's damaging your bones, and then you have chilutz atzamas, which is health, which is freedom of the bones, where your marrow, your inner core, feels free, and then, like we say, the greatest healing is joy, is freedom, is that feeling of